L. Montague, streaming live on Intellectual Radio Studios, doing Platinum Convos season 4, everyone. Hey,
Yay.
hello, hello, hello. So, I am here today with the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guest, Miss Toni. Hello, Miss
Hello.
Toni.
How
How
you
are
doing, Elle?
you?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today. So, for everyone who doesn't know, this show is about extraordinary, ordinary people who are living their best lives and their passion and everything that they do in their lives to feel good and healthy and creative. And Miss Toni is someone I know from school,
hmm
but you know, I'm not going to tell the whole story of all the things that we know about each other, but I want you to tell us who you are, what you do, your story, and why you're here, or why you believe you're here.
so my name is Toni Asante-Lightfoot. I'm from Washington, D.C. originally. I lived up and down the East Coast and West Coast and ended up in Chicago after also owning a bed and breakfast in Trinidad and Tobago for a little bit. But I had been teaching most of those years um, and trying to help people to change the way that they looked at the world and themselves so that way they could be more productive. When I lost my teaching position and I was a director of writing programs for a not for profit for a while during the downturn. I looked up on a bus and saw massage therapy might be for you. And I was like, yeah, I like to touch people. And normally I would touch people with my words, right? And so then I thought about the metaphorical, about how actually I was very good with my hands. And I had friends that would be like, oh, Toni, I don't feel well. Can you rub? Da, da, da. And I would massage. And I took a couple of massage classes even when I lived in Boston for a bit. And once I got to Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, I fell in love with the actual medicine. And so went from being a massage therapist into acupuncture school, which is where we met. I was already in acupuncture school, about to graduate, and I did in December, thank goodness. Yeah,
Woohoo!
yay.
Congratulations.
And it's one of the first things that I had like fully accomplished and that made me feel really great about my own self. Ooh, we have to turn this off. I think people are turning into the show.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
And so, yeah, so now I am working at Haji Healing Salon doing massage, and I'm waiting for my acupuncture license to come through so I can be a practicing acupuncturist.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And not to mention also is that you're a mother, among other
A
things.
mother, and it's funny when we talk about that because I'm teaching my daughter voice through spoken word. So I'd also been a performer of poetry for about 25 years. And I've been working with my daughter on that as well.
So that's what, actually came to mind and why I thought about you for this particular segment. Because I was thinking for season 4, I want to do like some deep inner reflection of healing the self and healing others. And now that I've been doing hypnotherapy as a hypnotherapist, one thing that amazes me is the whole idea of how the voice can be a conductor to facilitate healing, because I only use my voice to help facilitate a trance.
Exactly.
I only use my voice when helping a patient come up with memories from way back when. And so when I saw, like, I think maybe a couple of months ago, I saw like a posting of you doing your spoken word.
Yes.
I was so touched by what you were saying. I can't even remember the words, but I was so touched by what you were saying. I almost like shed a tear. I was so touched by it that I actually wrote something. I'm not prepared to share it, but you inspired me. And I was like, I think you would be the perfect person to talk to about, the power of engaging the voice and just to understand like what you think is like involved in invoking those emotions and how you feel when you're on the stage, doing all of that and getting people to this emotional place.
So it's wonderful that you would have me on now after I've had this training in Chinese medicine. Because in Chinese medicine, every interaction that we have with others is also based in the health or the lack of health that's in an organ. And so the voice itself, like we know that we need to work on lung chi. If somebody has a very soft voice and they can't seem to catch their breath when they're talking, right? So then I know, oh, You don't have the proper lung function. So I can work on that. What is said and how it is said, and then the appropriate interaction between people comes from the heart, literally, the heart organ, right? And this heart organ is awesome because in Chinese medicine, the channel itself goes all the way down to the hands. And specifically,
Mm.
one of the most powerful points is going to be in the palm of your hand. And so that's why when we're having a heart attack, right, you have that tension that comes down and you feel that pain in the arm because that's where the channel is. But now we can also think of this as how we give praise. Our hands are open, our everything is our heart is open,
That's
it's all raised up.
true.
And then when we are enraged, right, when praise turns to rage, we become closed fisted, right?
Mm.
We have closed off our heart to rational ways of problem solving. The inspirational channel is your lung channel. It comes through your lung, right through your thumb, comes up this way, gives you the thumbs up, right?
Mm.
Means that everything's okay. But it also, again, when it's closed, becomes the most powerful portion of this fist. It is the one that guides where your hand is going to hit. Right. And it is an amazing discovery to know that when you see people, when they're singing and they're open and they're dancing and they're able to be like all of that, it touches your heart because their heart is open. Right.
Interesting.
When you listen to, brothers who are going through so much and their rap is so raw, 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 their lungs are strong and forceful because their rage is strong and forceful. And there are times when we need that. Everything is in balance, right? You don't need it all the time. You do need to have this softness. You do need to have flow. You do need to have a musicality, which is what I actually promote in my voice. I worked for years to be able to sing. I was told many times throughout elementary, junior high, and high school to lip sync in performances. But when they needed someone to be a narrator, my voice could hit the back of the room. I have very strong lungs.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow.
But I'm also always inspired. Like people are like, oh, I've got a writer's block. I was like, no, you have anxiety. You do not have a writer's block. You think that what you write has to be perfect. And that is insane. So we have to move that block of insanity, right? That anxiety that makes your head go crazy because all you're doing is writing.
Right.
Right? When people say, oh, I don't like to talk in front of others, it's like I get so nervous. Why? They aren't going to remember what you said unless it profoundly touches them. And if it doesn't, they won't remember it. So who cares? Speak your truth, touch who you need to touch, but don't get yourself all fluttery over it for no reason. I do have anxiety, right? A little bit, but I turn that into the energy where my voice then has power.
Right. I love it. I love it so much. I love the way that you describe it because, I often think about the voice, words, the meaning of words, and how it actually has this impact on our overall health.
Yes.
And also, and it's wonderful how you described it because, there's just actually makes me think about a paper that was written not too long ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that's actually a biomedical paper that says the heart talks to the brain more than the
Exactly.
brain sends
Messages out.
signals to the heart.
Exactly.
And so understanding how the heart and the lung is working together to give you a voice is just amazing to think about that connection. And
Now, wait a minute. I don't want you to forget the spleen.
oh, we can't forget the spleen.
Right.
We
The
can't forget the
spleen and,
spleen.
and its relationship with the stomach. So the stomach is what takes in all of our right experiences. And so we do that with food, but it's also with experiences.
Yes.
Right. And that's that yellow. So
Yes.
that's why this candle here is yellow. Right. I love that yellow. So we can nurture the middle. We nurture the earth. We nurture all of this. So that way we take in things properly because when we don't, right, we have a very distorted view of not only what happened to us, but then what we can actually accomplish.
And that's what that's one thing that we try to do when with therapy
Hmm.
and releasing emotions so that you can be healthy. So,
Exactly.
it's so important because what your brain believes or what beliefs your brain has or rules that you've set for yourself in terms of
Mhm.
your brain impact your body because your body follows.
That's right.
So your words, your word choices, if you hear words that impact you, your body can respond with sickness and illness in that response. It could be pain, it could be blindness,
Yeah.
something is, you know,
Autoimmune
yes,
illnesses, right? Because
autoimmune
under attack,
illnesses.
if you attack yourself, your body will begin to attack itself,
Absolutely.
right? Because you have all those negative things. And I know this. I had Guillain-Barré. I
Oh,
had an
really?
autoimmune illness. But thank God that I did. And the reason why I say that is because then they took out these antibodies from my body and they reworked them. And so not only was I able to be able to see again, because my Guillain-Barré attacked my upper body, not my lower body.
So for people who don't understand, like the
Guillain-Barré
symptoms of
is it's an illness where the nerve endings are being stripped. And it normally starts off in the feet, in the hand, I mean, the feet, the knees, the legs, and then it can actually go all the way up to the heart and stop the heart, right? So that's the worst of it. The most annoying part of it for people who survive, who do live through it, that you may never get all of your feeling and use back in your limbs.
Mm.
So to this day, I still don't have full feeling going down to my pinky, right? I'm an excellent massage therapist still. I'm still able to, do everything else. But when this happened, it was 2004. My baby was born 2008. And she felt like corduroy for the first 3 to 4 years of her life.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I finally found Chinese medicine. And I remember the day that I felt my child. And she felt like a baby. She felt like a human to me. And so, like, how powerful is touch? It brought tears to my eyes when I could feel my child and she felt like a human, right? And that was the first time.
That's amazing.
And it was beautiful. So through that illness, though, like I said, it attacked my arms instead of my legs, and it went all the way to my brain. And so it started pushing on my eye. And so I was partially blind in my eye, my right eye. And so, all of this is going on in really crazy kind of ways. And like, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to negotiate this world? Because at first I couldn't see. And so here it was, I'm a writer and I couldn't see. I spent my evenings in the hospital, blind and paralyzed, basically. I couldn't see and I couldn't write because I couldn't hold a pen. I couldn't tell the difference between a pen and a penny. Right. So all of this had to be reworked and rechanneled. They took my blood, reworked my antibodies. And because they reworked my antibodies so I would stop attacking myself, my nervous system would stop attacking itself, they believed that that's how I was able to have my first live birth because I had had 3 miscarriages before that.
Oh, wow.
So when we look at things as a blessing, even when they might be our most traumatic and horrible crises, right, and a critical time in our lives, if we look at it as a blessing because we know that it must be, then we can turn it into a blessing. My ex-husband who fell in love with me because he saw the joy that I had when I was on a bus. He was on the bus with me and he was like, this girl is amazing. Now, if I had been sad and downtrodden because I didn't have full vision, I didn't have full feeling in my hands, he wouldn't have seen my light and I would not have the child that I have today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a
It's all a
beautiful
blessing.
story.
It
That's
is
a
all a
beautiful
blessing.
story. That is a beautiful story. And so it's like, so I don't even know how to start with you in terms of touch now because you're like a 5 sense healer.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
with your spoken word, massage therapy, your herbs, your acupuncture. So you're like all the way around. And also you have been healed
Yes.
from having an illness that impacted your ability to touch.
Yes.
And now you're the toucher. That's
And my
healing.
and my impacted my ability to see, right? And now I see things in a very different
way. So
right?
what do you think, like, can you distinguish as a healer, like a difference in your ability to affect or impact someone's health with massage versus using your voice? Can you like is
So let me tell you, it's funny you should mention that because I have a client who's like very religious, right? And I am very not. Right. I grew up in the church and I love all the spirituals. They did get me through when I was blind and paralyzed, right? Because I couldn't do anything else and I had to think about the positive songs in my life, right? I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. Like that's an important song for me.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But I'm not because I practiced the Buddhist tradition. I dated, men who were Islamic tradition. So I studied that and, you know, went through there. And then my grandmother was like really high in the Rosicrucians. So I understood that kind of stuff. And I will put you on the violet flame instead of trying to kill you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I'm going to uplift you, all of these things. But I do know that like this woman, she needs me to sing to her when I'm working on her. Right.
Mm.
And I learned that because I was doing acupuncture on her when I was in school, we were in clinic. Loved this sister with all my heart. And every now and then the needles wouldn't go in. And I was like, oh, girl, I got to move the chi. What song we going to sing? Right. And then, but I would, whatever that point told me, I would feel a song and I would sing it. Right. It's like when I was in church, we would
Right.
like the spirit would move you. And
Right.
so then you move the spirit. Right. And so, but then I have, my friends who need a Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, right? Because I practice Buddhism and I practice that kind of Buddhism. And then I have friends of mine who are Taoists. They wouldn't care about a Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. They need something else. And so I give you what you need in the voice that is going to be able to calm you. And a calm person is receptive of healing. You cannot be healed if you are desperately afraid. I have to
Absolutely.
calm we call it the shin in Chinese medicine. I have to calm your heart so that way all of the blood and the chi can roam freely in the body. And so that's why I feel like what we do with these emergency rooms, oftentimes, what we do with these hospitals, is we don't promote, right, this ability for a person to be able to strip away their fear, right? And we can calm you because a calm body is a healing body.
You know what? I have a testimony. Actually, it's not my own personal testimony, but it's my mother's, and she's not here. And I hope she's not listening because she's like, "Why are you telling my
Why are you talking
business?"
about my business?
Absolutely. But I had a cousin, and the story you're telling me it makes me think of this. I have a cousin who was actually on a cruise, and she had like a heart attack
Oh
or a
my
stroke
goodness.
on the cruise, and she fell out, and my mom says she fell out dead. And so, of course, they resuscitated her, got her in the hospital. She was in a comatose state, and they were thinking of, relieving her from
Mm-hmm.
the machine that was helping her breathe. And my mom came in and she was like, she's not ready to go. She's not brain dead. And so everyone was in conflict of what to do. And so my mom decided to sing
Mm-hmm.
her favorite church song,
That's right.
my cousin's favorite church
Mm-hmm.
song. So she sang that song. And my cousin said, I love you.
Of course. Of course.
So my mom was like, oh, I got to go out. She ran out into the hallway and said, she spoke. Come back in here. She's not
She's
brain
not
dead.
brain dead.
She's not brain dead. So giving her those words
Mm-hmm.
that gave her, and I'm thinking it was giving her a sense of hope.
Yes.
It's giving her
Right.
a sense of
A
hope.
familiarity though also. She's in this place. Her body has been, ravaged by whatever just happened. She's in this place that is cold, sterile, with a bunch of people she doesn't know. Right? And everybody's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna be present right now. And it's like,
Absolutely.
wait a minute. Ooh, I know that song. Oh, okay. I'm back. I can come back. I'm safe. It is a safe place now. Right. And
Hmm.
so when we don't allow music, and so in the hospital is like really crazy to me. So when I get out of the surgery, right, I had brain surgery, so I have a brain shunt, and my a woman who was not my best friend, but she was, I loved her dearly. Zara comes in, and I was like, oh my gosh, Zara, how long you been here? She said, well, I knew that your mother was going to be alone, so I didn't want her to be alone. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. And I was like, but I'm about to die because I felt like I was going into shock. I was really cold. I don't like being cold. I'm very, very wimpy. I said, grab my feet. My mother's never done a foot massage in her life. So Zara just grabs my feet. Mama's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, grab your feet. Your daughter said, grab your feet. Grab her
Yeah.
feet.
Do
So they
it.
grab my feet, and Zara begins to sing, I got a feeling everything's going to be all right. And as she began to sing in her smooth, deep, very warm voice, warmth began to go back through my body. I didn't need all the blankets anymore. Warmth in a voice is a thing. When I was young, I used to talk like with a very gravelly voice. It was awful. And people would call and they'd be like, oh, hey, Wayne. That was my 16-year-old brother. And I was 6. Like, who does that? It was
They would call
awful.
you Wayne.
Oh my God, that was my brother. Right. And like he would already gone through puberty. Like his voice was already deep. I was so mad. And so my mother, being brilliant and wonderful and also needing babysitters, got me into theater. And theater and poetry. And then, even uh, classes where I was supposed to be singing, but they told me not to sing because they couldn't work with my voice. But because of theater and then constantly having to negotiate my voice in poetry performances, right? How do I make sure that I'm saying this poem in a way that will touch a heart? So that means I have to modulate, right, to reach that heart. And so when I'm, writing a poem that is filled with fear, right, then I've got to show that fear. When I'm writing a poem that's filled with this, right, amorous type of love, well, then I'm going to use the amorous type of love voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so, like you said, but even when we have children, we talk to our children different ways, different moments. So why wouldn't we use that, like, as a way to make sure that we are being the most effective communicators? And that care in terms of the way that you're choosing to communicate is also um, recognized and even relished by the person who's hearing it.
Absolutely.
Right?
So do you think, now that you're a healthcare professional, right?
I like that.
Healthcare professional and providing healing services to all that need your care, that your ideas or the way that you use your voice is different. Have you even thought about it? And one reason why I ask you that question is because we know through so much evidence that the doctor and the doctor's communication to the patient
Hmm.
is so important in terms of how well that person rebounds from illness. So,
Absolutely.
especially with like the placebo effect, if the doctor tells you that they're giving you a prescription or a drug that is going to improve something that you need to be in balance and to get over illness, if you hear that, sometimes
The body acts right.
the body acts right. And it's not even the drug. It's not even the
Exactly.
drug. And it's you turning on your own healing resources
Because you believe.
because you believe. And also, counter to that,
Hmm.
if the doctor comes in and tells you you only have 6 weeks to live.
So think about if your doctor is your mama, and your mama has always told you you ain't gonna be nothing, you ain't been nothing, you just like your daddy, blah 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 blah. It turns off something inside of you, but it also turns on all these other negative, right,
Absolutely.
times of responses in the body,
And that becomes, you know what that becomes? Chronic illness.
right? And then one affects the other, right? Now your lungs are affected, right? Because you have grief over losing any kind of good feelings that you had about your mom, right? Or dad, or brother, or sister,
Or
anybody,
whoever.
whoever it was, right? The
Teacher.
foster care, right? The police. You know what I'm saying? It could be that, and you might have all of these, right? People against you in your life. So that means when I see you, that you might have somehow, some way made it through enough to be able to say, I am sick and I need to go to an acupuncturist or massage therapist. So when I see you, my goal is not to traumatize you again. So I'm not going to tell you who you are. I'm going to let you be who you are. I'm not going to tell you what you need. I'm going to tell you these are things that can help you. You pick. You're in charge of this, right? Because we take so much away from people every day who've been traumatized their whole lives. And then we expect them to give us something good. It's It's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane. It's cruel and it's unnecessary. Even when it deals with the president of the United States at this moment, I look at him, I'm like, oh, sweetie, you are sick and sad. You need so much help. And you are surrounding yourself by sick and sad people. So when I can do that, then I don't get enraged like I used to. I'm not saying I didn't. I was highly upset with this country again, but I've always been because I didn't get my color through love. And the people that made me this color never saw one day of justice. So I am very attached to justice. That's actually in my DNA.
Right.
Right? People talk about what's in the double helix and they think that that's empty space. I think it's memory. Because there's some parts of me that I know I am such an old soul with, and I have no personal experience with, but yet I am so attached to that. And I am attached to racial justice. I know specifically because I was raped into being this color. Right? There are women in my history who still roam my DNA searching for justice. And so I tried my best to give it to them. And one way that I deal with justice is by dealing with people fairly. And it is unfair to take a crippled person, even if they're just crippled in ways that you can't see. They're crippled emotionally, and to expect them to run a marathon.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a very interesting perspective, like a different way to think about it. Because, when I hear you talk about it in that way, it's more like a poetic way of thinking it. And, I'm over here on the science side. I'm a
But see,
scientist.
that's the thing. My major was civil engineering. I love science. I love science, but I love it as metaphor.
Yeah.
Because
And I think of it the opposite way.
Exactly.
So when I hear you're talking, I think, epigenetics, which
Exactly.
and epigenetics
Yes.
is showing
It's a real thing.
right now that our memories,
Absolutely.
our DNA is living what our great grandmothers
Absolutely.
experience. And that's how we know what berries we're supposed to eat if we're left out in the forest.
And that's how I know, right?
Right?
The way that I cook my greens, right? People are like, why you do that to your greens? That's the way that I know that it's going to be healthy for me. My
Yeah.
grandmother taught me that.
Absolutely.
And they were like, really? I was like, no, I never saw my grandmother cook in my life. My grandmother died when I was 10. But I knew that this is the way she did this.
Well, your grandmother nourished you
Exactly.
when she carried your mother.
Right. When this is actually on my father's side.
Oh, okay. On your
Right.
father's side.
And so then, and my father left the house 2 months before I was born. So I wasn't even raised with him.
So it was a paternal grandmother.
And that's why we know genetics are real, right? And you get them from both sides. And then we take that, though. So if we think about historical trauma that's passed down through the genes, and then that means that we have responses that are passed down through the genes. And sometimes our responses are food responses, right? I'm going to eat myself to death because I am so disturbed with life. Right? I am not going to eat, right? So you're going to be bulimic, you'll be anemic, anorexia nervosa. All of these things where you don't even, like with anemia, right? That's an illness where you can't even absorb the iron, even if you had it.
Right.
Right? It's not just that you don't have it. It's like you can't even absorb it. Right? So these are all things that we're passing down because we're passing down our responses to stress. Which is why I do my best now. I'm like, baby, I don't know what kind of illnesses you're going to have because I'm passing down different responses to stress than what I have.
So you think, especially I guess as a healer, you think that, a person that comes in more than likely is going to have some type of trauma trigger.
Yes.
Hopefully you don't trigger it.
Exactly.
But do you think that your natural ability, like let's just say your poetic side is your natural gift.
Yes.
Your natural divine gift.
I'm dyslexic. So I see things weirdly.
Are you dyslexic?
I sure am. It's so wonderful.
So do you think that somehow you can use that artistic creative side and blend it in to make or minimize or benefit how you deal with people?
I
and
am
their
50
traumas.
years old.
Are you 50 years
I am
old?
50 years
You are
old.
beautiful.
I'll be
You are beautiful.
51 June 23rd.
You are beautiful.
Thank you very
You
much. I
do
appreciate it
not.
because you are killing me with all your gorgeousness. But anyway,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
not going to talk about that. Right. So at 50, I have a plethora of experiences because I am a stomach energy person. I'm going to take in all experiences. Ooh, I'll taste that. Sure, I'll try that. Ooh, yes, I'll do that. I was a dominatrix for a little bit.
Really?
Girl, I had a great life. I'm going to say it. I mean it. I've done things,
You've been
all
doing
kinds of
everything.
wonderful things. Right. And so I make associations. That's what metaphors are. Right. So when I was teaching poetry and I wanted to, people understand metaphors, I taught at Lynn Bloom Math and Science Academy. So I had all these wonderful little math and science geeks who were very close to my heart, and they could not understand really what a metaphor was, or the difference between metaphor, simile, right, and these other like hyperbole, all of these, literary terms. So I turned them into uh, equations. So a metaphor, right, is an equation of A equals B, right? So I say, oh, your smile is the sun, which means that your smile is right, equals sun. A equals B, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Simile is similar to. Your smile is like the sun. A, similar, right? Two wavy lines. B, A is similar to B. Now, if I say your smile would put the sun out, that is, of course, hyperbole, right? So we're talking about something being way greater, A being way greater than B,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so we can move it that way. I look at everything as being in relationship. Everything is a yin and yang symbol with me. There's nothing that is over here that doesn't have part of itself over there.
Okay.
Right. And it is, I know that I am a part of you because we are in this room and my air is leaving my body and
And
going
I'm
into yours.
sharing it.
Right. And yours is going into mine. Right. Over here, we have everyone, right, who will be in this room will be touched by us. It is just energetically. Right. If energy is not created or destroyed, then we don't carry all of our energy with us. Some of that is coming off wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to create that positive energy within me, not just for me, but because I know that that's what I'm leaving in the world, right? Wherever I go, I'm leaving my energy. Now, some people don't have like that artistic side, that energetic side, and then that science side. Right. And so then they come up with some other ways of dealing with the world. And as long as I say it's healthy, as long as you aren't going to harm yourself or others, go ahead, have a ball.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that you're putting this into simple words.
But it's simple for you because you're a scientist.
Well, but also, no, it's very, 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 because everyone can listen to this
Thank
and
you.
start using this in the future because, you know, as when someone's taking care of you in terms of your health, you also, you want them to use words
Yes.
and positive words so that you can heal. But also, you got to own your own health.
You better.
You got to own your own health. And then you need to use positive words
Absolutely.
to help you achieve your health goals.
Absolutely.
So, for example, like you just used what did you tell me? A metaphor. And so, in terms of my health, I need to start using metaphors
Yes.
for my health
Absolutely.
that my body can use and my brain can connect to help me have longevity,
Yes.
like through affirmations.
Yes. There's also the thing when we speak of affirmations, how do we make sure, again, that they touch us on the deepest levels? So be careful not only as to the words you say, but the tone of your voice when you use it, when you say that affirmation. And so that's another reason why, again, I worked on this voice because and I had heard this a lot in my life, I love you. Why are you gonna suck your teeth before you tell somebody you love them? That is like awful. That is the worst thing. So I actually don't have a positive relationship towards people saying I love you. I'm learning. I'm trying. Ooh,
Yeah.
right? Because it's how you say it. How have I told myself I love you? Oh, that's right. I do love me. I am kind of cool. I'm okay. Did you ever see The Butler, the movie The Butler
I
with
haven't seen it.
uh and I love him with
Oh,
all of
I
my
did
heart.
see it. I did see it. I
Right.
forgot that I saw it. Okay,
But it's
he's in the White House.
yes.
The butler is in the White House. This
And
was some years ago.
he played in Black Panther. He's been in everything. But my thing that I loved him in was Ghost Dog, Forrest Whitaker. So Forrest Whitaker is Buddhist.
Mhm.
And when he did Ghost Dog, like there were things in it I was like, that is amazing. Just like kind of the way, because he's a larger man, especially in Ghost Dog, and he's like got this elegance. And we call that kind of splenic energy, where the spleen is very active and still very smooth flowing, and it goes through the legs. So you can be light on your feet and still be large, like Jackie Gleason. Do you remember that
Yeah,
comedian
yeah, yeah,
and how she
yeah.
would dance and do all
Yeah.
this? Just lovely. Chris Farley. Who are these other? John Belushi, right? These are all very splenic people, very elegant and graceful and large. So then he begins to lose his weight and he's doing the butler. And, that movie goes from him being young to being old,
Older.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you notice, like his body begins to change as he ages. And Oprah was amazed. She's like, I saw you age, like on set. Like, that was amazing. And he was like, that's because every slight, every trauma that the butler felt, I lodged in a portion of my body because that's what illness does, right? Illness is coming from that threat,
Mhm.
that shame, that pain, that rage, not being able to come out of the body. And so it lodges. So you might have it lodge in your shoulder. And now you've got shoulder pain and it may droop a little bit and you may favor it. It may turn inwards, right? You may have something else that then you lodge in your hip, right? Somebody jolts you when you're sitting down, and so you felt weak, and so you might lodge in your hip. And that also happens when you have a car accident, right? Because you're sitting.
Yes. And it's very painful. Just
Right,
that
just right there,
vibrational
boom.
movement.
But it's also right because there's a blockage now. The nerves, the blood, something is blocked. It's not flowing freely. The Chinese system of medicine believes that all pain comes from blockage, and so all we have to do now is find where the blockage is and remove it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Right?
So
Because that's
also,
also what we do psychologically, isn't it?
yes, that's exactly what we do is hypnotherapy.
Exactly.
So once we find the trauma, the memory, or just the experience, we actually do a physical release.
Yes.
It's a vibrational release so that your whole body can release that trauma or memory and be able to be open to receive something else. And you know what that makes me think? You just made my brain have a light bulb, girl,
I love
with
light bulbs.
voice.
Yes.
So with voice, your voice to me is a vibrational
Yes.
experience that I'm having through my ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have two voices. I have an inner voice that I don't speak. That's just the vibration of my mind, my brain synapsing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And triggering ideas. But also I have what I speak
Yes.
to myself.
What you speak to
So when
yourself.
I speak to myself out loud, guess what? It's not coming from here into my ears. It's coming from in here,
Mm-hmm.
vibrating in my bones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when I'm speaking and I hear myself speak,
You don't
right?
sound like I hear you speak.
Right. When I hear myself on a recording, I feel like, who is this person? Who is this voice? Because I don't recognize my voice. How many people
Mhm.
like their own voices? Not many.
I actually don't.
Not many.
What people like about me, I actually don't like about myself. I don't like my smile. Can you imagine that? I know.
You don't like your
And
smile?
everyone says this every
Everyone
time I
loves
say
your
this in my life.
smile.
Exactly. Everyone, I think it's just too big. I feel like it takes up my whole space. But then why would I have that trigger? When I was little, everyone called me Chiny because I
Oh,
had the little squinty eyes when I would smile. I was like, oh, she Chiny, Chiny. Not everybody, but I got it enough. And it was said in such a negative way that I don't like my smile.
that you don't like your smile.
And so now, like, I know that it's powerful and that it is bright and shiny for other people. And so I constantly have to like take away that trauma that I have about this thing that's on my face,
That
right?
makes everyone else delighted. So
I hate my skin color.
how do you feel about your voice?
I think my voice sounds like a raspy hot mess. But
But
I
everyone else likes your
and
voice.
so I have to cultivate that. Right? And so this is another thing that we can do. Right? Just because you don't like something doesn't mean you can't serve it fabulously.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's a woman at my job. She hates to cook. She's the best cook I've ever had in my life. She has made me eat stuff that I would never eat. She is amazing. She's like, no, I don't like cooking. She's like, but Tony, actually now, because I know that you like it, I kind of get a little bit of joy because I know that you're going to really like this.
Right. So she
She
delights in giving you a gift that
right, but
you
she doesn't like
enjoy.
the actual work of it. Right?
That's very interesting. And I can't pull it together, but the actual physics of it, because negative thoughts, negative imaging, that is a physical vibrational thing that's going on. Then you have the voice. It's so complicated, people. This is very complicated because you have the voice that you're vibrating
Hmm.
onto other people. When they get your vibrations, they decide whether they enjoy it or not.
Exactly.
And then you are creating it,
Hmm.
and it's vibrating, and you make the choice of whether you vibrate, you enjoy your vibration or not.
Exactly.
And at the same time, your body is just there receiving it back and forth,
And flowing through. Exactly.
being impacted either in positive health
So it's funny that
or
you mentioned
negative
this.
health.
In Chinese medicine, going back to that's why I'm so glad that we're having this conversation now and not years ago before I had this information. So the heart goes to the root of the tongue in Chinese medicine. The heart goes to the root of the tongue,
The root of the tongue, like by my
right here.
throat.
That's what's going to decide whether or not your tongue can move. So when you have, if someone has a stroke, I tap that in order to get their tongue to work right.
Hmm.
Exactly. But I also tap their spleen. I also, tap their heart. I'm also tapping all these things because everything has to work together for the body to work properly. Right? Because what ends up happening often, I don't know if I can't remember what it's called. If I don't know if you have the words for it. So when people have a stroke and all of a sudden they become mean,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they lose that inhibition for whatever they might have been holding in for all those years, or they lose that ability to see the world in a positive light, and so they become negative. Right. And I don't know how to change that other than through Chinese medicine because we rework the circuitry using those little needles.
You know what? That's so amazing. Girl, I'm gonna have to go back and like do some research, because now that you're telling me the root of the tongue, which
Hmm.
is back like near your throat, like
Hmm.
you'll feel your esophagus and that Adam's apple kind of.
All that together.
There's there's a bone there. It's
The
the
hyoid
hyoid
bone,
bone,
the only bone that's not
and
attached to
and it's
anything else.
hanging. And guess what it's doing? It's vibrating.
That's right. And that's how I find
How
where I
are
put that
we
needle.
not anybody who doesn't believe that we're vibrational, energetic beings?
It's probably a flat earther.
Yeah. You're so funny.
I'm just saying, it's so crazy.
But this whole thing
It's
that we're talking
crazy.
about right now is this is all about vibration.
If the earth itself is constantly turning, then we're all moving.
We're all moving.
Why for art thou thinking that we are not vibrating?
We're vibrating.
Everything is.
And our health is depending on it.
Every atom in this table is vibrating. So if we're vibrating at like literally an atomic level, those electrons, honey, are buzzing around everything. They're making
Absolutely.
it's all popcorn. Everything in the world is made up of popcorn.
That was the best thing I learned about chemistry. If I didn't learn anything in chemistry, I don't know why I became a chemist other than to go to school free.
Right. That's why I became an engineer.
Yeah, because I didn't really like it that much. But, just to learn about, I have a better understanding of vibration.
Bonds, right?
You love covalent bonds?
It's just because they're metaphorical. Right? So how are we all connected? And then how are we repulsing each other? Right? So bonding, right, will decide whether or not it's whatever you're missing is what's going to attract that electron from that other thing. And then you all can mesh
That's
together.
Yin and Yang.
Exactly. Girl, that's what I'm saying. Right? From the one becomes the two, from the two comes the three, from the three comes the multitude.
Yep. The
Right?
1,000 thing. It's the 10,000 thing.
Right? And we're talking about Avogadro's number for real. Right? I can keep my scientific metaphors going all day long. That's
Girl, who thinks about Avogadro's number when we're about voids?
Because everything is related when you're dyslexic.
This is true.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. But I really enjoyed having this talk with you because it actually puts a lot of things in perspective. Number one, it puts in perspective the power and healing properties of using your voice and word. And to hear that come from someone who does a multitude of healing modalities, including massage, which is a huge touching factor. And to understand how being touched by words and being touched by voice and the importance of the vibration and the power in the voice and the impact on the body and bringing people who are in illness from comatose states through song back to life.
Exactly.
That in itself, and the person who's actually been healed, right?
Yes.
That in itself is enough evidence for me to feel like, hey, I need to not work on getting ahead of that and being proactive and
Yes.
affirmative. And hey, I want to maintain and create a better health for myself. I want to live to 115 if it's possible.
Exactly. A guy just died, was a few years ago, he was 140 something.
Really? 140
Yes.
something?
Yes. And it was so crazy because he was still walking. How you still walking?
So if I can do that
That's what I'm
through,
saying.
and one thing is like positive voice,
Yes.
speaking.
Exactly. So
How
we
hard
also
is
have
that?
this thing at Haji. It's going to be on June 7th, and then after that, it's going to be quarterly called Tell It, right? Testimonies. I'm sorry, test turning into testimony, stories of transformation and healing,
Stories.
right? And so it's storytelling, and we've had I think we've had two so far, and this will be our third one, and it's been amazing. The
So
stories that
where is
come.
Haji Healing
Haji
Store?
Healing Salon is on
Yeah.
79th and Cottage Grove between Evans and Cottage Grove. So it's 743 East 79th Street. And then we have Reiki yoga classes on Monday, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And the Saturday classes, we also have Kemetic yoga, which is amazing. And so, Kemetic yoga is when you use the Egyptian forms that were found on the hieroglyphs, and they've understood that this is actually where the original yoga comes from.
Okay.
And these forms have been so transformative for me. I started doing Egyptian yoga when I was 16. Dr. Azar Harpi came from Chicago to DC and did a workshop. My sister happened to find out because she was a weirdo, and that's what I love about her. And all the weird, wonderful things that she's given me in my life has been spiritual, physical. She was the first one to really do massage with me. Awesome woman. Her daughter now, and her working in California doing a film, and um, just really being transformative in the way that they want media image and representation of Black people and women.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it's been
So
awesome.
she's doing big things.
Right? We come from people who do that, right? And that's an expectation. And it's not just that it's big things, but we do them for humanity, right? In my family, it's not just that you're going to be selfish. And so we do have a few selfish members in our family. We're like,
We all
you
do.
didn't get the message.
We all do. We all do.
Right? Because it's interpretation as well. So, how do we interpret trauma? How do we interpret crises? Every time I have a crisis come up, I'm like, oh, what an amazing opportunity. How am I going to change this? Right? And so, when I tell my body that and my mind that, then it starts looking for solutions. When you're not looking for solutions, you're looking for a door, right? And that's just a way out.
Right.
Right. And so we have so many people who found doors and ways out of the community that I live in. And instead, I'm there. And I'm there specifically because I want to make it transform. I don't want the energy to stay the same. I don't want to be part of the death of the neighborhood in order to have other people move in and make it better. And so um, one of the things that we practice through voice and through this different way of looking at it is it a crisis or is it an opportunity or is it both?
And that's what you're doing at Haji
And that's what
Healing.
I'm
Is
doing
that where
anywhere
everyone
I
can,
am.
is that where people can find you
So
or?
you can find me there, especially Tuesdays and Sundays. Tuesday evenings, we have Reiki, acupuncture, sound healing, and of course, massage. And I do Asian modalities, but I can also do divination through the body. Oh, and we also have
So
divination
where
there.
can people find you speaking during your spoken word?
I don't do it that often.
You're
And so
not doing it
that's
so often anymore.
no. And I do it, like I said, for these events at Haji. And then outside of the city, I don't get paid to do that in the city like I used to because I'm not on the circuit. But now I'm getting paid more and more to be around the country.
Oh, okay.
So I'd rather do that where I can make my money that way. Because I really do like working as having my focus on developing my healing touch and acupuncture understanding because there's so much to acupuncture and moxibustion and cupping and gua sha. It's like, when do I use this? When's the best time?
Yes.
Ooh, it's a lot. And so instead of being a divided mind, I like my focus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get it. So thank you. Thank you so
Is that it?
much.
That was an hour. That's
I know it goes
amazing.
by so fast. So
Oh my
thank you
goodness.
so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I love hearing the stories that you told, your personal stories. Hopefully I would love for someone to take something from today's show. If it could be just creating positive affirmations for your health. I mean, that's the easiest thing. Simple things like a metaphor so that you can continue a healing
Be kind to
journey. Be
yourself.
kind to yourself. So thank you everyone for tuning in, listening to Convos. We have a wonderful season ahead. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and have a wonderful day and keep it moving.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.